Welcome. This is Reading the Christian Classics with Minister Katie Johnson. I haven't been around in a while. There's so much going on, but I am so glad that we're back on track to talk about the Christian classics. Today, we're going to be reading we're not going to read the whole thing. It's from this book, The Great Evangelical Disaster by Francis Schaeffer. Now, I have to be honest with you. I read a little part of this book, and I cannot say that it grabbed me really to read. There was a lot political and evangelical about how we should conduct ourselves if you're part of a certain party or a persuasion. So I decided that I wouldn't go through reading. I read the first couple of chapters, and I decided that I would not continue to read this particular book. Also, I had studied the life of Mr. Schaeffer, and I did read a couple of things, and looked at a couple of videos about L'Abri. If you're familiar with his life, you know about that, the shelter, which he started in Switzerland in the movement of the 60s. And I found it a free form. They allowed a lot of people in to discover, I guess, their spirituality and who they are as spiritual beings. Accepting of different life persuasions to come under that umbrella. And I just thought it was a little, too broad for me, for my taste. For instance, there was some smoking and different lifestyles that were under his roof. And although he was talking about we have to love everybody, which I totally agree with, that we have to totally love people as Christ loved the church. But there was also a point where you say, as a Christian leader or someone who's trying to love everybody and to help them come to a new life, that you cannot be so accepting of, I guess, the sin. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure you'll tell me in the comments if you don't agree. But as a minister, as somebody who represents holiness, I just kind of didn't take to that. So with that, he's someone who is widely known, widely respected as a minister, as someone who was forward thinking. But I tell you, there's one part of the book that I did like, and that was at the end of the book. And it's actually an appendix to the book, which is called The Mark of the Christian. And it's a really short read. If you have the book, this part of the book is actually chapter 8 of the book, is a good read, and it is uplifting. And what it does talk about is it talks about the church and the love of the church from within also. Do we really love one another? Are we qualified to be ministers or people that call ourselves Christians when we can't even get together ourselves, and we need to be unified? So that's really what this part of the book, how shall people know us but by our love. But I also believe, going back to this evangelical part, or his entire ministry is concerned, that we have to love everyone, but we also are responsible to talk about where we need to improve and what is acceptable before God and what is not. So that's just my take, and I just, condoning is not something that I think that is what God wants us to do as leaders, but we have to address injustice and address wrong living or or trying. Now, I'm not saying that we have to be perfect or that we're ever going to be perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect person. But I believe that God is calling us to be the best that we can and living in the spirit of God, that we can be much better than we are right now if we did not allow God to move in that way. So let's talk about Mr. Schaeffer's life. He was actually born in Pennsylvania in 1912, and he was born in Pennsylvania, Germantown, Pennsylvania, in 1935. He attended Hampton-Sydney College. He was also the author of 22 books. That's amazing that he was the author of 22 books. So you might want to investigate him more and to see what he was writing about. And he was so popular within the evangelical celebrity, I guess you'd say, with Farwell and with Robertson. And in the early 80s, he was one of the top people in that movement. His son, Frank Schaeffer, he's somebody who's interesting. If you want to check out someone who is a forward thinker, he considers himself a Christian atheist, I think he said. And he's an artist, and he's a speaker and an author. His son is very interesting, but he veered away from the evangelical movement because he didn't agree with what was going on there. So in his conscience, he felt that he could not sustain that, and he was being groomed to succeed his father. Sorry for that. And he just moved away from that. But he lives a life in, I believe, Massachusetts, in New York, Massachusetts. Sorry, but he's someone who's interesting as well. He also has some sisters. I don't remember their name right now. So we're going to go forward with this read. Like I said, he's someone that you want to study about. His wife, Edith, is also a prolific writer. She just passed away in 2013. But she was a prolific writer, and she continued his work until she passed away. Okay, so we're going to go forward with the mark of the Christian, and it's in the back of the book. I believe there's also another edition that actually has the mark of the Christian, or Christian Manifesto, in another edition, but it's actually in the back of this book if you're interested. Okay, so let us read that. Now, I'm not going to read through the entire thing, but I do want to hit some points. So we're going to start at the beginning, and then I'm going to jump around just a little bit so that we hit the pertinent parts. If you're interested in just a straight read, there are a couple of people on YouTube who actually read straight through, but they don't get to the end part, which is the part that I want to get to. So, okay, so let's just read the first part here. The mark of the Christian. Through the centuries, men have displayed many different symbols to show that they are Christians. They have worn marks in the lapel of their coats, hung chains about their necks, even had special haircuts. Of course, there is nothing wrong with any of this if anyone feels it is his calling. But there is a much better sign, a mark that has not been thought of just as a matter of expediency for use on some special occasion or in some specific area. It is a universal mark that is to last through all the ages of the church till Jesus comes back. What is this mark? At the close of his ministry, Jesus looks forward to his death on the cross, the open tomb, and the ascension. Knowing that he is about to leave, Jesus prepares his disciples for what is to come. It is here that he makes clear what will be the distinguishing mark of the Christian. Little children, yet a little while I am with you. Ye shall seek me, and as I said unto the Jews, Whither I go, ye cannot come. So now I say to you, a new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another, as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have love one to another. And that's John 13:33 through 35. This passage reveals the mark that Jesus gives to label a Christian, not just in one area or in one locality, but at all times and all places until Jesus returns. Notice that what he says here is not a description of a fact. It is a command which includes a condition, a new commandment I give to you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye love one another, that all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye have love one to another. As if is involved, if you obey, you will wear the badge Christ gave. But since this is a command, it can be violated. The point is that it is possible to be a Christian without showing the mark. But if we expect non-Christians to know that we are Christians, we must show the mark. Men and brothers, the command at this point is to love our fellow Christians, our brothers. But of course, we must strike a balance and not forget the other side of Jesus' teaching. We are to love our fellow men, to love all men, in fact, as neighbors. All men bear the image of God. They have value, not because they are redeemed, but because they are God's creation in God's image. Modern man who has rejected this has no clue as to who he is, and because of this, he can find no real value for himself or for other men. Hence, he downgrades the value of other men and produces the horrible thing we face today, a sick culture in which men treat men as inhuman as machines. As Christians, however, we know the value of men. All men are our neighbors, and we are to love them as ourselves. We are to do this on the basis of creation, even if they are not redeemed. For all men have value because they are made in the image of God. Therefore, they are to be loved even at great cost. This is, of course, the whole point of Jesus' story of the Good Samaritan. Because a man is a man, he is to be loved at all costs. So when Jesus gives the special command to love our Christian brothers, it does not negate the other command. The two are not antithetical. We are not to choose between loving all men as ourselves and loving the Christian in a special way. The two commands reinforce each other. If we look again to the command of John 13, we will notice some important things. First of all, this is a command to have a special love to all true Christians, all born-again Christians. From the scriptural viewpoint, not all who call themselves Christians are Christians, and that is especially true in our generation. The meaning of the word Christian has been reduced to practically nothing. Surely there is no word that has been so devalued unless it is the word God itself. Central to semantics is the idea that a word as a symbol has no meaning until content is content is put into it. This is quite correct because the word Christian as a symbol has been made to mean so little. It has come to mean everything and nothing. Jesus, however, is talking about loving all true Christians, and this is a command that has two cutting edges, for it means that we must both distinguish true Christians from all pretenders and be sure that we leave no true Christians outside of our consideration. In other words, mere humanists and liberal theologians who continue to use Christian label, or mere Christian members whose Christian designation is only a formality, are not to be accounted true. But we must be careful of the opposite error. We must include everyone who stands in the historic biblical faith, whether or not he is a member of our own party or our own group. So he's talking about loving everybody under the of who is a true Christian. And I imagine he's saying across denominations, across the color line, across political agendas or beliefs. He's saying we all must love one another as ourselves. They say that on Sunday morning is the most separated or segregated time of the week, on 11 o'clock hour, because we have the white churches, the Hispanic churches, all the hundreds and thousands of denominations. But he's saying we have to learn how to come together. We might disagree on the small things or some iota or some area of the Bible or theology or doctrine, but it is so important that we show love, as if we call ourselves under the umbrella of Christian, that we love one another regardless of denomination, regardless of color, regardless of status, or regardless of education, whatever it may be. So this, we truly agree, is something that must be dealt with today in our church, because do we really love one another? I've been parts of churches where I've been, a couple of churches that I've been to, you could see that there was absolutely no love because there was a difference of opinion or something. But we've got to look beyond our differences and come together where we agree. Okay, so let's go on. I'm only going to go about another 5 minutes. Let's go forward to the part that says honest answers, observable love. Of course, as Christians, we must not minimize the need to give honest answers to honest questions. We should have an intellectual apologetic. The Bible commands it, and Christ and Paul exemplify it in the synagogue, in the marketplace, in homes, and in almost every conceivable kind of situation. Jesus and Paul discussed Christianity. It is likewise the Christian's task to be able to give an honest answer to an honest question and then to give it. Yet without true Christians loving one another, Christ says the world cannot be expected to listen, even when we give proper answers. Let us be careful indeed to spend a lifetime studying to give honest answers. For years, the Orthodox Evangelical Church has done this very poorly. So it is well to spend time learning to answer the questions of men who are about us. But after we have done our best to communicate to a lost world, still we must never forget that the final apologetic which Jesus gives is the observable love of true Christians for true Christians. While it is not the central consideration that I am dealing with at this time, yet the observable love and oneness among true Christians exhibited before the world must certainly cross all the lines which divide them. The New Testament says, neither Greek nor barbarian, neither Jew nor Gentile, neither male nor female. In the church at Antioch, the Christians included Jews and Gentiles and reached all the way from Herod's foster brother to the slaves, and the naturally proud Greek Christian Gentiles of Macedonia showed a practical concern for the material needs of the Christian Jews in Jerusalem. The observable and practical love among true Christians that the world has a right to be able to observe in our days certainly should cut without reservation across such lines as language, nationalities, national frontiers, younger and older, colors of skin, levels of education and economics, accents, line of birth, the class system in any particular locality, dress, short or long hair among whites, and African and non-African hairdos among blacks, the wearing of shoes and the non-wearing of shoes, cultural differentiations, and more traditional and less traditional forms of worship. If the world does not see this, it will not believe that Christ was sent by the Father. People will not believe only on the basis of the proper answers. The two should not be placed in antithesis. The world must have the proper answers to their honest questions, but at the same time, there must be a oneness in love between all true Christians. This is what is needed if men are to know that Jesus was sent by the Father and that Christianity is true. So when we look at this, he's talking about being together as Christians, loving as Christians. Why can't we come together? Because one of the issues we're talking about even today is as if we're coming together, the question is among all of the leaders that yeah, we can come together. Let's come together. But then the question is, well, who's going to be in charge? Who's in charge of all of this? There's a quest for power that will not allow Christians to come together to any meaningful coalition, because everybody wants to be in charge. Some people want to be in power. It's what I say. It's what I do. I'm right. You're wrong. And because of these positions of man, of carnality, we cannot come together as true Christians. And in this day, we really do need to come together, because people can't tell that we're Christians, because there's so much division. There's so much talking against one another. We need to come together in love. If I don't agree with you, I don't have to let everybody know that we disagree all the time. But I can say, even if we do, I still love that person, and not to ill speak, but to love that person as we would love ourselves. Yes, we correct one another. Yes, we know that we don't agree, but is the real love there? I can disagree. It's just like someone in our family, or a daughter, or a family member. I disagree with people in my family. They disagree with me, but nevertheless, you know that we got each other's back. You know that we love one another. That's the same kind of thing. Yeah, we might disagree. Jesus didn't agree with Peter, the things that he did. He didn't agree with him. He didn't condone what he did, but nevertheless, they both knew that they were in love. They loved one another as brothers and as sisters. Can we come along that same line? Okay, there is a couple of more pages that I did want to read here. I'm going to continue that on my next read. I'm going to actually finish this read because it's such a short read, and it's something that we need today. Can we love one another in this time of pandemics and of elections, political differences, about life and so on? We need to still show love for one another, and let me say, when we don't agree with one another, it doesn't mean that we say things, we slight one another. You know how we slight one another because we don't agree because we've got the platform or what have you. We'll say little things, just to get our point across. That's not important. That's not important. What really does count is are we treating our neighbor right? Are we treating people the way we want to be treated? Would we like it if they did that to us? If they did that same kind of thing to us. So I'm going to stop there, read a little bit of that Francis Schaeffer book right there. We have some other reads that we're going to be doing. If you like what we're doing, please do. I think it's over here. Hit that like button and just say, or hit the comments if you have something to say about it. Agree, disagree. That's fine. We still love one another. I'm not hurting you. You're not hurting me. We just I have a group of sisters that I talk to, and we don't always agree, but we know that we are in it for life. We're sisters for life, and we know that we're in it for life. So I'm going to challenge all our sisters, all our brothers. Yeah, we disagree, but you know what? Got your back. Still got your back. You're still my brother. You're still my sister. Amen. Okay, I hope you enjoyed today's reading. We're back. We're back online. We're back online, and hope that you're enjoying this, and that you're treating yourself right. You're treating those people that you love right, and you're taking care of yourself. Do what you need to do to be safe and to love those who are around you. Okay, that's it for today. Love you with the love of the Lord. Peace. Mr. K. Johnson out.